Tonight, impeachment. Trump's Ukraine call, his withholding of foreign aid, and keeping it all from Congress. It pushes Democrats over the edge. Speaker Nancy Pelosi formally this afternoon, an hour ago, opening an impeachment inquiry as the president offers to finally release the transcript of his call. We have got the very latest. Plus, we'll hear from two Democrats whose movement on impeachment may have helped make this happen. Then, 73-year-old Donald Trump takes a cheap shot at a 16-year-old Greta Thunberg, and she hits back. The lowlights from the UN, that also ahead. And later, we all know this president's view when it comes to us, the media, we, the enemy, unless, of course, you nice. Well, then it turns out this administration is willing to go a whole lot further. We've got the very story that ought to chill every American, journalist or not. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Oh, what a day it has been. An extraordinary day of activity in our nation's capital, possibly one that'll go down in history. The House of Representatives is launching a formal impeachment inquiry into the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. If they do, there is every reason to believe he will become just the third American president to be impeached in the 230-year history of the office. And it all stems from the phone call that Trump now admits that he made to the Ukrainian president in what appears to be an effort to get them to produce dirt on one Joe Biden, a call that came just one day after Robert Mueller testified before Congress, and the withholding of foreign aid to Ukraine, which remains under attack by Russian-backed forces, seemingly in exchange for that dirt. Now, as you'd expect, we have in-depth coverage of this all this evening. You'll hear from two key members of the Democratic caucus, both of whom had not embraced impeachment, that is, until now. But let's begin with the very latest on this fast-moving political drama. We begin with the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, perhaps the biggest Democratic critic of impeachment, but not anymore.
This Thursday, the acting DNI will appear before the House Intelligence Committee. At that time, he must turn over the whistleblower's full complaint to the committee. He will have to choose whether to break the law or honor his responsibility to the Constitution. Therefore, today, I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry. I'm directing our 6 committees to proceed with their investigations under that umbrella of impeachment inquiry. The president must be held accountable. No one is above the law.
Pelosi's actions came just a few hours after we heard from the man at the center of the storm, Joe Biden, speaking on the call and the whistleblower report for the first time today. He also changed his position. He gave notice to the president, cooperate fully, or face the biggest weapon available to Congress.
It is time for this administration to stop stonewalling and provide the Congress with all the facts it needs, including a copy of the formal complaint made by the whistleblower. And it's time for the Congress to fully investigate the conduct of this president. The president should stop stonewalling this investigation and all the other investigations into his alleged wrongdoing. The president does not comply with such a request from the Congress. He continues to obstruct Congress and flout the law. Donald Trump will leave Congress, in my view, no choice but to initiate impeachment. That would be a tragedy, but a tragedy of his own making.
As for the president, he appeared to be on defense today, a defense with some serious holes in it. Now, Trump today telling reporters he did, in fact, call the president of Ukraine and says he did bring up Joe Biden. Trump also admitted he ordered the delay in aid money to the Ukraine, but he continues to insist there's nothing wrong with that and what he calls, and is, again, these his words, a beautiful call. But a quick check of the tape shows the president has certainly shifted his explanation of why he did what he did. And it's not a great look for someone insisting that they're innocent. CNN shows the different answers Trump gave, again, just 24 hours apart.
We want to make sure that country is honest. It's very important to talk about corruption. If you don't talk about corruption, why would you give money to a country that you think is corrupt? One of the reasons the new president got elected is he was going to stop corruption. My complaint has always been, and I'd withhold again, and I'll continue to withhold until such time as Europe and other nations contribute to Ukraine, because they're not doing it. It's the United States. We're putting up the bulk of the money. And I'm asking, why is that?
Now, coming up a little bit later in the program, we're going to be speaking with Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney of New York and also Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill of New Jersey. Sherrill, she'd opposed impeachment before today. Maloney, he was also sitting on the fence. But first, how did the Democrats on the Hill go from wait till 2020, basically wait till Election Day, to it's now time to impeach in the span of just a few hours? And for that, I want to bring in senior political correspondent Andrew Whitman, because Pelosi was always the cautionary red flag here, saying, listen, I know it might be fine in your district, it's not fine in this person's, and also this may be fine in a primary, but in a general, this could be toxic. She went from there to today unequivocally saying we're going ahead.
And there was so much movement so quickly, Rich. You and I are going to look back on this as one of the 5 or 10 most hectic, most significant days that you and I have been doing this work together. Part of the movement today from the Speaker comes from voters. Members spent most of August back in district and were home this weekend as the Ukraine whistleblower story blew up. But the real momentum got started around 9 o'clock last night when 7 freshman Democrats, all of whom have backgrounds in either the military or national security, all of whom had been silent on impeachment, and all of whom are in districts that voted for Donald Trump, came out with this op-ed in the Washington Post that essentially says Congress must investigate and should turn to impeachment and other congressional powers to get it done. One of the authors, as Rich mentioned, of that piece, New Jersey's Mikey Sherrill, will join us shortly. At just about the same time, Connecticut Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro released a statement saying she backed an impeachment inquiry. The significance? She's as tight with Speaker Nancy Pelosi as anyone. It was the first hint that Speaker Pelosi's views on impeachment might be shifting. Then this morning, the floodgates opened. A slew of Democrats who had been on the fence backed impeachment, including New York's Antonio Delgado and New Jersey's Andy Kim, both in Republican districts, as well as Tom Suozzi of Long Island, who had been staying neutral. So at the end of the day, the question is, where does that leave the math when it comes to impeachment? Well, the numbers are changing quickly, but at last check, of the 218 votes needed to pass impeachment or formally launch an inquiry, 163 have gone public with their support. That leaves 72 Democrats on the fence or opposed to impeachment. 55 more are needed to make it happen. But after Speaker Pelosi's announcement, the votes for an inquiry will almost assuredly come. The question is, will the House vote to impeach? Those numbers have to shift for them to do it. Stay tuned. Today's avalanche of activity on impeachment may not slow down until Thursday at the earliest. Late this afternoon, the president tweeted out that he will release the transcript of his phone call with the Ukrainian president tomorrow. But Democrats are already saying that is not good enough.
It's nice to have the transcript. We don't even know right now if the complaint is about the transcript, in part or in whole. And without the complaint, we don't know what the IG thought was so urgent. We do not know what the whistleblower thought was so urgent. So simply to release the transcript is not going to come close.
Now, the must-see moment will come on Thursday when Acting Director of National Intelligence Joseph Maguire goes before the House Intelligence Committee in open session. The general consensus right now is if he doesn't bring the complete whistleblower report with him, the House will proceed with the impeachment inquiry. And House Intel Chairman Adam Schiff tweeting today that the whistleblower wants to testify and is available to do so as early as this week, though nothing's been scheduled yet. One final bit of news, and this comes from the U.S. Senate side of the building, which we hadn't heard much out of today. In a bipartisan voice vote today, they called for the president to release the transcript, and the Senate Intelligence Committee is going to open its own bipartisan inquiry into the whistleblower complaint as well. Rich?
So the question, and we'll ask the lawmakers shortly, but the question that everyone asking is there anything the president can do to stem this tide? Not only producing the transcript, producing the complaint, letting the whistleblower, let's say, come forward. Let's say he says, let sunlight be the best disinfectant. Let's hear the whole story. Does impeachment continue even if everything gets on the table?
First of all, that seems like such an unlikely proposal
Yes.
coming from this president. And I don't think I think the odds on that in Vegas are pretty long. But if it happens, I don't know the answer to that. It depends, I think, partly on what Pelosi would want to do at that point. The other factor is they may say, okay, if you're willing to be this transparent on this one particular matter, take the brakes off everything else. Let us continue our inquiries on every other front, and we'll avoid impeachment on that regard. But I get the feeling that they're not going to be content with just getting the disclosure on this.
And so you're also clear, everybody at home, the speaker today didn't just say on the Ukraine, on the latest, There are 6 task committees that are involved in different levels of investigations of the administration. She said to all of them, basically get all your best stuff together, okay? All the 6 different pathways that you think that this president is, whether it be self-enriched, abuse of power, whatever the case may be here, we're going to put it together, give it to judiciary, and they're going to move ahead. So this is not just limited to the latest Ukrainian fiasco.
And the other thing is this will change the nature of the investigative committees and of the committee hearings that we've seen. We remember back to Corey Lewandowski testifying before the House Judiciary Committee, where he wasn't answering anything and basically was being as combative with the committee as possible. One of the powers that will come to these congressional committees is something called inherent contempt, which means we're asking under an impeachment inquiry, which means we're asking this question: answer it, or face a fine, or face jail time. I mean, they can issue those penalties immediately in the committee room.
Congressman Mikey Sherrill from New Jersey, one of those key Democrats, as Andrew said, one of those 7 Democrats who came from either military intelligence background, who were really the key swing here. Right now in a meeting on the Hill, we're hoping to get her in just a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be hearing from Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney and also hopefully Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill. That coming up on the other side of this in a huge day in national politics. Stay with us.